Hi, this is Pete Lyons with Let's Play Salesforce, and in tonight's Tableau CRM video, I have not one, not two, but three guests that are going to tell us about DataPrep 3.0. That's right, all the amazing new features and functionality that we have as this monster of a utility marches toward the final deliverable. So Tim, I guess I'll let you take it away, introduce your team, and then let's get into some new features.
Thank you, Pete. Hi, folks. This is Tim Bizalt. I'm a product manager for the Tableau CRM product and the data platform responsible for our next generation data prep. I'm going to show you what's new in the spring 21 release. And off to Jim.
Hi, folks. My name is Jim Pan. I'm a product manager at Tableau CRM in the data platform as well. Today, I'm going to show you the smart transformations in the data prep recipes for spring 21. And go ahead, Chris.
Chris Ames, part of the product team as well. Today, I'm going to cover some of the connectivity for Tableau CRM. Pete, back to you.
All right, let's jump into demo mode.
Perfect. So let's open up a recipe that I've prepared for this demo. And I've been zooming in here a little bit. So, okay, let's take a look at what's happening in this recipe. We have a couple of Salesforce objects that we're joining together. And down in the lower section, we're pulling data out of our opportunity, account, and record type. And ultimately, after we've joined that and prepped it, feeding it into an Einstein Discovery predict model that's behind this new predict node that is now generally available as part of the spring release. So this next generation data prep, if you're not familiar with it, it allows you to view the graph and see where the data flows, similar to data flow editor, what you're used to with data flows. But in addition, you get a preview of the data so you can inspect the data as it's being transformed at every step of the way. So in this case, we're looking at the opportunity object from Salesforce. I can click on the edit here and add more fields. In this case, we're moving all of the 43 fields in as part of this input node. And let me show you how we can actually add nodes and then connect nodes into the graph before I focus in on specific features. So up here, I can also add data sets or connected objects that come in through connectors. And I'm not sure which, let's maybe pick. Oh, leads is already in there. So let's pick the events data set and add it in. So now we can see we have a new input node that we've added here. And there's a plus button coming out of this. So I can click on this plus button, add a new node, for example, prep my data in a transform node, or I can actually drag this plus button onto an existing node on the canvas and then select to create a join to join in the events field. And one thing you'll notice is in this new release, in spring release, while we're fetching the preview, we're showing you the metadata of the fields that that will be part of this new node, so that you can start interacting with this node, for example, customizing the join keys, the join types, or something that's new in the spring release is customize the field qualifier for the right-hand columns. So we're joining in fields from the events. I can then go in and say, these are, this is the field qualifier that's now going to be included in every single field that's coming in from events. So you can see now this is the qualifier of the API name that I can now customize. Or I can make this lookup multi-value operation here as well. Okay, so let's take a look at what's happening in this recipe and what's new as well. By the way, if I'm hovering over here, I can also choose to branch out. So this is a different operation than the plus, just another hint for you while you're interacting with the graph. These are two different operations that you can use, either create a new node in between, or you can branch out a new node from here and create another output, for example. So let's take a look at this transform node. And you can, in this one, we have a operation that calculates the time to has passed since close date of this specific opportunity. So this is calculating the days since closure, and you can inspect the result of this all the way here on the right. So you can see how many days have passed since this opportunity was closed. And in the next operation, we're using a new function, a new formula that's available in the custom formula editor. And that's this button up here. So if I click on a column, there is this custom formula drop down that allows you to use a new feature that is the equivalent of compute relative formulas in data flows. So this is the multiple row formula. In this case, we're using the first close date value, which effectively calculates the first purchase made by this specific account. So I'm using a window function to partition all of my opportunities by account ID. So this is my account ID here. And inside these account IDs, I'm now fetching the date of the first purchase. So you can see for every row, we're now creating an entry that is the first purchase date for all of the purchases made by this account. And this is what this window function allows me to do. And you can see we're using you have a lot of different functions available that you can use. And they're using the SQL syntax. So everything that's defined in this formula node is following the SQL syntax. So you have the syntax or the formula builder here with syntax highlighting as well, where you can customize your formula. Make sure you're picking the correct output type for this one. So we have a timestamp that we're working with. Close date is a date and timestamp field. So we need to make sure that the output type is also a date time field. All right, so I think that's kind of the new compute relative function that is a big parity item for data flows. And another cool function that I wanted to walk you through is the ability to use Einstein discovery models to make predictions. So in this case, we're mapping the opportunity data and we're pulling in account data and we're mapping that to the model. And out here, we can create the top 3 predictors and top 3 improvements for each of what we're predicting for each of the opportunities. And you can see the results here coming back from our Einstein Discovery Prediction Service. So you can now predict millions, hundreds of millions, even billions of rows at one time using this batch mode prediction service. And last but not least, real quick on the append side. So we're appending data sets, a leads data set into the leads that are coming from Salesforce. And in the append function, there's a new feature in the Spring release that allows you to use a disjoint append on both sides of the append. So you can see we're creating a couple of nulls here where we can't find contact. So there's no contact in the data set that I'm appending in. But if there's a field in the data set, but not in my leads from Salesforce, I can also bring those in. So for example, if I have lead age and days, and I don't happen to have that in my Salesforce object, I can still bring it along by using the plus button, and I can create additional mappings that will then be filled with nulls on the top side, but will be filled with values at the bottom side from this append. And that is pretty much it when I wanted to cover for the Spring release updates. And then I wanted to hand it over to Jim.
Thank you, Tim. Hi, folks. Again, this is Jim Pan, and I'm here to talk about smart transformations in the DataPrep recipes for Spring 21. We have some pretty exciting developments here. I'm going to go through some quick slides here on things I'm going to cover, and I'll show you a demo of them. First thing first, clustering. We're now able to use ML-driven transformations directly on your data in DataPrep in order to cluster your data. For example, white space analysis, customer segmentation, drag and drop, point and click right there very easily, and you don't need to have a separate data science team anymore. This is available in a pilot program, and you feel free to reach out to Salesforce and we can enable it for you. building on that, we also have time series forecasting. Now, we have time series forecasting in query via SACL, and that is absolutely true. We're looking to do exactly the same thing in data prep recipes as well. Of course, what that means is that you can now, as part of your recipe building, you can use the forecasted data to feed your models, to train for discovery, to apply additional transformations, maybe apply a multiplier as you see fit. So those are some of the things that you can do with time series forecasting directly within DataPrep. That is also available in our Smart Transformation pilot program. And again, reach out to Salesforce for that. The last thing is aggregation. The pivot in aggregate is a new capability that we found that we needed, frankly, and you probably find it useful as well. You now can group data in the aggregate node by rows, as you have always been able to do before, and also by columns. And what we do is we will project that data from those fields that you're selecting directly into new columns. Now, let me just show you what that looks like in real life. Here's an example of a really basic recipe. This is an account. Let me just pull this up. It's a basic account data set. And what I'm looking to do is to cluster this account information using the fields that are directly in the records. And so as simple as it is, what I would do is drop in a transformation step and add in the clustering pilot transform. At this point, we would need to specify the number of clusters. We pick the fields that you want to use to cluster or segment your accounts. In my example here, I'm using industry, ratings, number of employees, and annual revenue. And then from there on, that's it. We just go ahead and generate it. At this point, during the pilot process, we do generate the data as a cluster TBD. And in the future, as we go GA, we will have the actual cluster labels generated here for you to apply downstream ETL operations. Now, this is as simple as it gets. And this is as simple as it gets. And let me show you what you might want to do if you want to get a little bit more complex, just a little bit. Taking opportunities, for example, still exactly the same set of data from Salesforce. You can go ahead and now apply that pivot aggregation. Suppose I want to project the sum of amount for opportunities by account ID, as you can see on the column here, but also by the product type, for example, or by the opportunity type, for example. So what we have is add-on business sum of amount, new business sum of amount, renewal sum of amount, services sum of amount. And now we have these 4 additional columns of measures that I can then pass over to clustering and using those newly generated columns to help me classify exactly how those opportunities contribute to the accounts. And now I'm classifying the accounts. I then join this right back into the account so that I can apply the cluster on the account level. And then I join them right back again into opportunities so that we have this final outcome of all your opportunity data with the account information as well as the account segmentation. And you know what that really means is that on a go-forward basis, I can start applying calculations. Maybe you want to know whether an account or an opportunity is within the account segment, whether they're performing well, whether it's high or low on the max and min range. These are all the things that you can then do because you can calculate those clusters, you can create those segmentations, pull in those metrics, and now you can compare that with your records right here in DataPrep. Point and click, drag and drop, really simple. And what that looks like could be as simple as this. Now, I ran that recipe and I was able to segment my opportunities. And now I'm able to take a look at data like this. See, because I'm segmenting by account, right? And then I join that back into my opportunities. Now I'm looking at it. This will be in this particular cluster 1. I didn't have to do the renaming yet, but cluster 1, what we're seeing is this will be a high volume purchase, right? There are lots of records over here, and the average amount is not necessarily that high, but there's a great deal. This is our cash cow. They buy all kinds of products across the board, and that's really great. where it becomes interesting would be if you look at a different cluster. And look, this is where they tend to have larger purchases, but they are mostly one and done. They come in and one and done, and then off they go. It's no renewals, no services, nothing. What's happening over there? This again gives you the opportunity to do that white space analysis to understand how to broaden your relationship with your customers and deepen their purchase behaviors. So this is what I'm hoping clustering can do for you, and I hope you can make use of it. Last thing, of course, is time series forecasting. This is, again, as simple as it gets. We took the time series forecasting capability in query and we put it in DataPrep. And now you can directly do it as part of your data preparation process. And that, of course, means you can persist the forecasted data and you can reference back to it in the future. You can apply additional multipliers to it. You can coalesce. You can do whatever it is you need to do to meet your business requirements. And this is really the power of having these capabilities in our DataPrep recipe platform. Again, all of these are available through our Smart Transformation pilot program. So feel free to reach out to Salesforce and we can get you set up. Thank you. And off to you, Chris.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jim. Yeah, let me start with some product, and then we'll go to a couple of slides to wrap things up here. So like I said in the introduction, I handle connectivity. So something that the team's been working on is output connectors, right? If you've been following, we've generated the Snowflake output connector. We've got an S3 output connector. Well, what we're working on right now and is going to be available for pilot, so customers that are interested, is a Salesforce output connector and a Tableau Hyper output connector. That's to Tableau Online. So let's just get an idea of what that means. Well, the output node in general within the recipes provides the ability to send data to a data set. So here I'm using something that we're working on, some recommender data. And we've got movie recommendations. We're going to create a data set. We're also going to, at the same time, write that back to Salesforce so that it can be used operationally. And we'll write that over to Tableau Online in the form of a Hyper file so that it can be consumed. So once it's done, right, we've created the object in Salesforce to receive it. It lands. This, of course, is the data set embedded in as a dashboard in here to see the recommendations for the individual user. So we see Olympia Keller here, or Keller Olympia. Tends to like or has watched some of the action, adventure, drama, music, and our recommendations come back in the scored recommendations, what they've watched, what they haven't. So that's more just ancillary to what the connector can do, right? It can provide that data as a data set. That's the standard today. So switching over to just look at the recommendations that we actually wrote into Salesforce with that connector, we see the same data that came across. It was the same data that we saw on the dashboard. This is just more at the detailed level, right? We know we need to sometimes interact with our data using Apex or whatever applications within Salesforce itself to drive business considerations. All right, so the other aspect of that was writing the data to Hyper, right? So it wrote a Hyper file into Tableau Online here, and from that, able to create a viz off of the same data coming in. So you can see it's all the same data going to multiple different places. You even see some of the artifacts of it coming through the data prep with some of the appended naming there. So all this currently in place today to provide that ability to send data with the output connectors. All right, so let's switch over. I did promise some slides. In general, forward-looking statement, this was at the beginning, right? Some of these features are not currently available, but what I wanted to show today was also a little bit more of what else we've done throughout the year that's kind of led us up to delivering these two connectors. And we've provided, right, data sync has been around, you know it, Tableau CRM, formerly Einstein Analytics. We did some work to generate sync out that's currently going GA, and that's to get data from Salesforce into Snowflake. We have the ability to do Tableau CRM connector, right, from DataPrep. So that's the output connection, just like I showed you for Tableau and for Salesforce. The team working on the direct connect, the ability to execute the SQL over in Snowflake and bring back the results. Tableau, of course, has a connector to pull back from Snowflake as well. And then our tried and true input connector. So this paradigm of what Tableau CRM is providing, and as we hit across all these different topics, we're expanding the footprint of what we can do with the product, and what the team's done to create a really awesome graphical interface to be able to do the ETL leads us to these connectors to get that data in and out in the various locations. So just to reiterate, we talked about the Hyper Online output connector and pilot. If you're interested, please reach out. As with the Salesforce output connector, we are currently limiting that to insert, update, and upsert for accounts, opportunities, and custom objects. Just want to keep the training wheels on as we get that out the door. So with that, thank you very much on behalf of the whole team.
First, I wanted to say I really liked how with the append transformation, you could actually map those columns to you could have columns with disparate names that would actually map together. And I just wanted to call out that has been my bane in data flows since I first ever figured out what appending was, as a transformation. So really glad to see that. Also, just the power of quality of life enhancements that we get from leveraging SQL, or SQL, or whatever you want to call it, specifically in the windowing functions that you not only have first, but also have last. And it might seem like it's not a big deal, but what if you need both of those things? Well, historically, you would need two different compute relatives going in opposite directions. But my next question is about clusters, actually, which I am super pumped for. I have a million use cases. It's going to make my life a lot simpler. But my question is, if I want to see, if I want to see the contributing values for a given set of fields, for the selected set of fields that made it into that cluster, like at a glance, I couldn't really tell, it picked these 5 industries for cluster 1, these 7 industries for cluster 2, and we're basing it off multiple fields. For the initial push, would you kind of want to just group by those fields and then filter on cluster to see what's boiling up into it? Or is there some sort of explanatory feature that lets you know how this is derived?
Yeah, absolutely. We are actually trying to figure out the best way to demonstrate how some of the relationships, the on a dimension side, what we are doing, let me get into the technical side a little bit. We take the dimensions, for example, that we have, and we project them using one-hot encoding, and then that becomes a bunch of ones and zeros that we then use to cluster the data. Now, in the future, we do plan to showcase the I guess the PSAs, I guess the how the different columns that a user chooses actually associate with the clusters and contribute so that they can experiment with it. The idea, though, at this point for the pilot process is that they can iterate through it quickly to see if they can identify relationships. Now, if a customer is aware, if a user is aware of existing relationships through the dimensions, they don't necessarily have to do this. What we're really offering is the ability to select a large number of different columns that you don't necessarily know if there's a relationship, and try to find some relationship there. And I think that's really the value add.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Also, the rapid iteration through DataPrep. The rapid iteration through DataPrep allows you to make those changes. Try 3 columns, try 5 columns, try a different set of 5 columns, and then using that as a way to discover the information that's most relevant for the business needs at that point is one of the biggest, I think, a benefit of having it in DataPrep.
Yeah, because historically, even going back to before the days of discovery, where you can find where you can use the system to find your correlations, we would just have to go through a massive, slow trial and error process of bucketing and, put it on a dashboard. What does it look like? Okay, we can bucket these things together. We can bucket it at amount levels. And it was always like, just line up the old ichrometer, see if that guy looks good. Okay, try it again. And there you are, weeks later wondering, did we really get anything out of this, or did we just make up our own conclusions? So I do really like that feature. And my next question is about the write back capabilities. So first, awesome that we can push to Tableau. Especially awesome that we can write back to Salesforce, because I very recently did a video on how this can be done with Apex, and I believe Paul Liu's app is currently working its way onto the App Exchange. But to have this, and that'll be a holdover for like us holdouts that are still, that have to work with data flows for one reason or another, or aren't able to migrate them. But with that write back, what I'm curious about is limitations around volumes. Like, do you, when writing back to Salesforce, how hard can you push it? And then when pushing to Tableau, I'm assuming that there's that we're not looking at a license-based restriction where the Tableau user must authenticate and be a licensed Tableau CRM user, or is that the case?
Yeah, okay, so last point first. So the licensing consideration of this, there are absolutely implications in how the data gets generated and whether or not a license is required. But if it's pure core source or Salesforce data coming through, being processed within the core capabilities of what we've shown you today, sans the Einstein discovery component, the data going out there is the data going out. So you're generating a data set, just like if you send it back to Salesforce. If you send it, you can export your data, right? We don't own it, and the work product of the core capabilities aren't covered under any specific licensing. Not a lawyer, but that's the general aspect of what's at play here. By all means, talk to your account team if you've got more detailed questions to make sure everything's running according to oil. And then the first part of the question, what was it again?
Volume considerations to write back to core.
Yeah. So,
how many fields can I write to? How many rows can I write to? Is this gonna like crush my data flow runtimes if I do it on too many records?
Yeah, and this is where we're at right now in the pilot, is we're running through and doing the scaling tests on this. Initially, everything that we're targeting is a 10 million row data set. That's our current output kind of watermark. We want to make sure that everything can hit that. We know with anything you're writing, there's going to be delays. Don't quote me. I know it's on video, but whatever. I think it was like 800,000 records in about 20 minutes to write it back to Salesforce and to Tableau online. So that was writing to both of those at the same time. We're continuing to tweak that with our performance team. And of course, each of those has their own considerations. The very awesome thing about the output connectors, we're using bulk V2 API, which is going to be more efficient in general. So some of the things that we saw before, and if you used other products to write to Salesforce, you wouldn't have been bulk V2 API typically, because most of the stuff that was built was prior to bulk V2. Therefore, we're able to take advantage of some of those new things. As far as the implications are on the core APIs that where they're going to be, not necessarily on the Salesforce or on the Tableau CRM side, other than what you have as far as you're tying up your allocated number of data flows or recipes that can run.
Yeah, because like when you look at the transition from the 100 million row cap to the 1 billion to the 10 billion, it's like it just leaps and bounds. Like I would never consider even trying to have 1 billion rows in a core Salesforce object, not a big object, just a core one. Like if somebody asked me if we could do it, I would laugh at them. But Tableau CRM is like, oh yeah, I'm going to chew this up. So I thought, yeah, there's probably some degree of bottleneck when it's going back the other way. So good to know that you're torture testing it against 10, because I feel that is a very like safe limit. I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, other than like 5 years ago, we had a client with 6 million rows in a core object, and it was just breaking everything. But that was in like the classic era, and now it's like, yeah, I've seen things like that, but I don't think off the top of my head, I haven't seen 10 million rows in an object in a while. It's not super common. So, well, those were all the questions I had. I'm very excited to see these updates. I love the progress that your team and the rest of the team, and well, the whole Salesforce thing has been doing. And no, we didn't have a safe harbor slide at the beginning, but I'll try to jam one in there. Swim in safe harbors. This is commentary, not documentation, or at least for me it is. So if everybody want to say goodbye, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us, Pete.
Thanks
for watching.
Yep.
Thank you.
And for those at home, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, tell a friend, and as always, thanks for watching.